Everyone looking for answers, frankly. Police say the two Boston bombing suspects immigrated from war-torn Chechnya back in 2001, 2002, about 10 years ago, and in their own way over the years tried to plant roots in the U.S. But how did it come to this? Stephen Yates, former Deputy Assistant to the Vice President for National Security Affairs, with me now. And, sir, good afternoon to you, and thank you for sharing some of your knowledge with us. I think, the one thing these guys had, they had the golden ticket. At least one had an American passport. The other guy had a green card. And when you think it, analyzing terrorists who are homegrown virtually in this case, how complicated it becomes when they live among us. What is your view on that now in the early days of what we're finding out about these two men?
Well, I think we see an emerging pattern where we have people who have familial or personal experiences abroad that have radicalized them. They come into our country and they become useful recruits and tools for a network leader abroad that then uses them as a pawn in a future attack. I mean, we've seen this pattern with Fort Hood. We've seen it with the attempt at Times Square, and with this. And what I think we'll find in this particular case, it's almost implausible that they operated alone. So the radicalization happens, they operate among us, and they become useful to people who are at time and distance away from us.
You mentioned Fort Hood. That's been characterized as workplace violence when all the witnesses say that he was screaming Allah Akbar. 13 killed that day, more than 30 wounded. I mean, is that a classification of workplace violence that needs to be challenged or re-examined?
I think with all of these, we need to take a step back and get a bit away from the partisan divides that people have applied to this. But through Republican and Democrat administrations, we've taken different approaches to homeland security and terrorism. And what's happening is we're seeing that we're not doing a good enough job of keeping America safe. Our intelligence and warnings are not sufficient. Threatening people with prosecution doesn't turn out to be a sufficient deterrent to them taking these kinds of activities. I think just a decade past 9/11, this is an important reminder that this is an enduring enemy seeking to use all kinds of tools against us, and we have to be more vigilant and more serious.
There will be a large examination about their ties to Chechnya, but it's one thing to be a fighter in Chechnya trying to get independence from Moscow. It's another thing to be radicalized and fight on behalf of Islamism around the world. Stephen Yates, thank you for your time out in Utah today in Salt Lake City. Appreciate your insight. I want to go back quickly to Martha in New York. Martha.
All right, Bill.